Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO of a company called Aspertillo.ai. And that's the first time I've ever introduced myself as that. So we've now got Liz Henderson on here today, and she's going to be talking about her book, My View of the Data World, which she's got in the top of the screen. Liz, where can people find you?
Fantastic. Great to be here, Tim. LinkedIn, Liz Henderson, Data Queen Liz. So that's a good place to go. Or my website. Easiest way to find my website is if you Google the word Liz Henderson Data, one word, no spaces. I'm the top search.
You are, because I've searched. All the Data Queen, Liz Henderson Data, you are there.
Very well known. So yeah, that's the easiest way to find my website, and there's a ton of content on there.
Yeah, you're a big content producer, a great resource at educating and being of service to people. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I've been doing that for since 2013. What's that? 13 plus years. So yeah, it's not as if I've gone to AI and said, right, I want a load of content. It's developed over a long period of time. So it's really good quality content, even if I say so myself.
So Liz, tell us about the inspiration behind your book, My View of the Data World.
My book, yeah. Because I've got all this blog content that I've been doing for years, people have often said to me, you've got a book in you, write a book. I'm like, smiled, moved on, just wasn't interested. I like the short form. I didn't realize I'd got the patience for the book. And then earlier on last year, I was doing some planning for conference presentations. What shall I speak about this year? What shall I put forward as topics? And I came across this lady on LinkedIn who suggested 10 hot takes. And those hot takes were things you believe in, things you stand strongly behind. And I thought, let's have a go at this. I'll see what I can write. Anyway, I wrote those up and I thought, this is not conference planning. This is a book. These are the chapters of the book. Of course, I had to do it in 9 because I wanted a nice grid of 3 of 3. I didn't do the 10. And I just started writing around each of those topics. And I thought, 9 chapters for a book, light, let's see the challenge. 9 soon became 18. And I have a book, which is
amazing. So let's start on my questions. You've mentioned that data isn't a technology problem, it's a leadership and decision problem. Why do so many executive boards still treat it purely as an IT issue?
I don't want to upset anybody, so I'll be careful of what I say and how I say it. But leaders think technology, they can see it, there's value in it, it's something tangible. Whereas culture, people, they just assume they'll come along for the ride. They implement these solutions and just assume their people will adopt them, they'll work, they'll be successful in organizations. And we're over 20 years into the digital world transformations, and we've proved time and time again that you can build the best tech in the world, and it can often be a white elephant because you don't get the adoption. I worked with a utilities company a few years ago. They were implementing data mesh. And I said, here's the technology. Here's the cultural side. You need to make the technology successful. No, we don't do the cultural side. We'll be fine. Build it and they will come. I'm like, okay, we built it. A year after that, they came back and said, you know that cultural side? Can we take a look at that? And then for 3 years after that, they had a small team working on the culture, which was far more expensive than if they'd done the culture at the same time as the technology. So doing the culture as an after product is a lot more expensive. So my advice is sort your people out, look after your people. And that's one of the approaches I take, people first. Always look after your people, because if you've got your people on your side, they will go above and beyond to make your organization successful. I've experienced that in my life.
Yeah, I totally agree. In your book, you talk about moving organizations away from analytics theater. What does analytics theater look like in practice, and how can leaders spot it in their own company?
Analytics theater is something you're not necessarily going to see, but you know it's dashboards. We want a dashboard for everything.
A dashboard for this and dashboard for that.
Yeah, they that is their first request. Oh, we need a dashboard to tell us what to do. Well, a dashboard's not going to tell you what to do. And that is the challenge. You've got to think about the now what? Okay, we've got this nice, pretty dashboard. It's fantastic, shiny, got all the graphs and whatever else it might be. But what's the action? And that's where you get to the leadership and the decision and the action that makes a difference when you've got the dashboard. And that's why I say it's analytics theatre, because it's like, okay, we've got all these dashboards around us, but where do we take the business next? How do we know what to do?
Yeah, I remember being in when I was in corporate, there were these dashboards, but leadership would always say, "So what's the context? So the figure's gone up here, but what does that mean?"
Yeah,
and there may be a real reason why that went down or that went up, but what's the context?
Exactly. Unless you've got more information, just a dashboard on its own. And what I often find is that, no disrespect to the analytics team because they do a great job, they'll churn out a dashboard for a certain team, say customer services, give it to the customer services manager, and assume the customer service managers know how to deal with it. They know what to do with it. They don't spend time helping them understand, you can do this, you can do that, this will help you with this scenario. And I just think, again, it's forgetting about people, the connection, and that's the most important. And that's what gets you success.
You use a great concept called friction tax when discovering hidden data issues. What exactly is the friction tax, and how is it silently costing organizations millions?
There's a story in one of my books. I don't think it's the first one, actually. I think it's the second book, about a bakery. And it's a bakery in a huge supermarket, one of the supermarkets that clearly exists today.
Yep.
And they had a human friction tax issue. If this person went on holiday and didn't do the ticking, the clicking, or whatever they had to do that every single day,
yeah,
the bakery would automatically churn out multiple bloomers, muffins, way more than they ever needed. And this is actually a real story, and it's shocking. And that's the friction tax. You've got the human doing some activity that they shouldn't really be doing. Why should the human still be just ticking a box every single day when it's not necessary? And if they don't do that, they go on holiday, they're off sick, or they forget for whatever reason, your business is impacted. We've got businesses moving data on USB sticks. We've got teams that come together after they've created their multiple dashboards. They come together on a Friday afternoon. Right, team, we've got all these 5 dashboards. Can we just check to make sure the numbers are consistent across all of them before we give them to the management on Monday morning? They're all costs. That's friction in an organization that's not seen and costs your organization money, productivity. It's not good.
Yeah, I've seen that. Your book emphasizes a people-first approach, which you talked about in the introduction, to digital transformation. When a company is rolling out massive data or AI shifts, how do you manage with psychology or behavioral resistance from the team? We could do a whole podcast on that.
You could actually.
But
it's about bringing people along on the journey. This occurred to me, or I experienced this very early on in my career. And if anybody's heard me speak at a conference, they've heard this story. It's the red binder story. And a transformation was going on at this office products, global office products organization. I can say that because they no longer exist. And the transformation was happening. Myself and my team, we weren't involved. We just knew something was going on. There's been no communication. We were a key part of the business. We managed the inventory. We ordered the stock. We sent the stock to the stores. If we didn't do our job, there'd be no sales. So one day someone came along and they bring all these 4 binders for each of the team members and said, here's your new work instructions. We were like, what? Sorry, what's going on? What are these? They were like the big chunky binders, the old leverage binders.
Yep.
They were laid out really well. Someone had spent a lot of time putting the instructions in there. We just opened the cupboard, put them in the cupboard, never looked at them again because they hadn't changed the back end of the system. And because we were so good at our jobs, we could actually bypass the new system functionality they put in and load our data up in the back. Right. Nobody challenged us. And unfortunately, sometime later, we all lost our jobs and the company disappeared. Whether that was because we didn't follow the processes, who knows? But it goes back to, if you don't bring your humans along with you, humans, employees, whatever you want to call them, humans versus agents these days, they're not necessarily going to be part of it. They're going to push back. They're not going to do the things you want them to do or expect them to do. And who knows what happens to the company because of that issue. So, yeah, that's where this all stems from, my own experience and having that bad experience and knowing there's a better way to do it.
Yeah, I think that I've seen it so many times that employees aren't taking along with the process. You wrote a fascinating piece recently about how traditional consulting modules are breaking because AI is commoditizing basic expertise. How should leaders adapt how they buy and use data advice now?
Oh, that's a challenging question.
Again, we could do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah, it is.
I want to get my money's worth, Liz. Come on.
Absolutely. I think the way consulting's going, and I've spoke to one of my ex-consulting MDs about this, and he kind of directionally agrees with me, is more AI focused. So that instead of having the human contact the client, it's the agent. And all those activities of setting things up and working with the client are all done by the agent. And then the human does the validation and the checking in the background at the end. The way organizations are best to engage with consultants is work out what they actually want to do. Because they need to start with the why. Because I get a lot of clients saying, we want to do MDM. Okay. And they do it. It fails.
MDM being master data management.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Master data management. Mobile device management is the other one. Yeah. They come along with we want to do this. Again, tech first. Whereas if they came along or even asked AI, we want to transform our organization because we've got a mess with our data. We want to bring it all in consistency. That's the question. That gives more context and they can get a better response and a better delivery, and it's more likely to be successful. So it's really validating what they want to do. And I would encourage any organization who thinks they want to do something to work with AI, really refine what they want, and then go to a consultancy. And then they've got a really good chance of getting success. That would be my view.
If more data isn't the answer to better business outcomes, what should companies actually be scaling up instead?
People, capabilities. Because we've got all the data in the world, we've got more data now than we ever could handle.
So this idea, this idea of basically sacking people and replacing them with AI is a bad idea then?
I think it's a bad idea on the surface, because what I'm hearing is organizations are sacking people because they want the budget to spend on AI. So again, they haven't really thought through, what are we going to do with AI? If we take Tom out of the process and just put AI in, what did Tom actually bring to the process? Because
he actually clicked the buttons to stop all the bread to be made.
Absolutely. So we can have an agent doing that, no problem. But Tom also brought judgment into this. Yeah. And those agents need to be managed, they need to be owned, and they need the context of what's going on in the organization. If you get rid of Tom, you get rid of all of that as well. So pretend you've got no data ownership, you've got no agent ownership, unmanaged data with unmanaged agents. That's just a risk that no organization wants.
You spoke before we went live, was that you spoke, you were at a conference or something, was it yesterday, and you were asked a question around, if you could take something out of artificial intelligence, what would it be? And you said, I would take the word intelligence out of the phrase artificial intelligence. And I think that's from our own experiences that actually artificial intelligence is like having a whole bunch of children or teenagers. Basically, in effect, you're employing teenagers. There's nothing wrong with teenagers doing the job, but teenagers quite often won't turn up or will have a hangover or stuff like that. And in a way, AI is doing that, isn't it?
Yeah, I liken AI to a 2-year-old child, because we've all seen the stories about agents deleting databases, including the backups. And when you ask them why they did that, they go, oops, I shouldn't have done that. That's not intelligence. That's just a 2-year-old child.
Mm.
And we know from experience of having children, 2-year-old children will find loopholes. They'll find ways not to do things. They're curious. They're the master of the 5 whys, or is it the 25 whys? But that's not intelligence. That's just something doing something. It needs your support, your intelligence, your judgment. And that's how we make AI more successful.
So data governance has a reputation for being a bit dry, or worse, a bottleneck that slows things down. How do you reframe data governance so it's viewed as a value driver than a hall monitor?
Well, you're really challenging me with these questions, Tim. Data governance is no different than any other risk or governance. And what I tend to find sitting on boards is that we talk about corporate governance, we talk about finance governance and all of those exciting things that boards are used to, but they don't talk about data governance, probably because they think it's somebody else's responsibility. It's all within the whole concept of risk and governance. And it's not about whether it's dry or not, or whether it's exciting. It's about the risk. And if we don't have our data governance managed, just like all our corporate governance, we're adding risk to the organization. And we certainly don't want to add any more risk than we already have. We want to make sure that risk is managed appropriately. So it's not about making it exciting. It's about making a balanced approach. What are the risks? What do we need to do to make sure our data is owned, managed, and trusted when we need it most?
For a non-technical leader sitting on a board who feels completely overwhelmed by data and AI hype right now, what are 2 or 3 critical questions they should be asking their technical teams?
What AI are we using? How do we explain what the AI is doing? And how do we know that the data it's using is trusted?
And
very simple.
Yeah. Why would you ask those, and why those questions, Liz?
Just very simple questions. They don't need technical expertise to ask them. They don't need technical expertise to understand the responses. And if the responses are highly technical, then you need to say, can we explain these in a way that's not technical so everybody can understand them? And by asking those questions, it helps organizations understand what's going on in their organization, how they can demonstrate, should anybody challenge them, that their data is trusted, that AI is doing the right thing. We go back to the example that's often used by people, AI making decisions on mortgages. If you can't explain in a non-technical way what your AI is doing to approve or decline that mortgage application, that's a risk that a company needs to deal with.
Yeah. Your broader work touches on surviving what you call the 2030 convergence. Without going into giving too much away, what is the invisible enemy organizations are going to face over the next few years? It's
that what's going on in the organization. It's all those things that the leadership. So we have a company operating model. Everybody knows what that is. But it's what's going on underneath. There's a real operating model. We talked about the bakery and the bloomers being delivered, too many of them. That's one of it. It's the other things that are happening. Sarah's got a load of spreadsheets on her C drive. They're not the proper spreadsheets from the main system, but she doesn't trust the main system. So she always uses hers. But then Fred, he doesn't use those. He uses a different set. Are they consistent? Do they provide different dashboards? And again, you've got that time, that cost of people getting together on a Friday afternoon to be able to confer. Are their figures all consistent? It's everything that goes on in the organization that nobody sees, that everybody assumes, well, that's just the way we operate. And that's one of the reasons why I say with AI, let's not decorate our process with AI. Let's redesign our process with an AI and automation first approach, because the results will be so much more better.
Yeah. So all good things come to an end. So the last question, if a listener or a watcher can only implement one mindset shift from your book, My View of the Data World, tomorrow morning to start spinning and start solving, what should it be?
Data ownership. I've seen so many big organizations still today without data ownership. So look at your organization. Do you have strong, robust data ownership? If you have, then you can utilize that for AI. If you haven't, I would say that's the first task. How do you implement data ownership?
Excellent. Liz, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your expertise and talking about your new book, My View of the Data World. If I wanted to buy a copy of it, where could I get one from?
Amazon is the obvious place, but it's also available on Waterstones and Apple Books.
And where can we find information about you?
On my website, on my LinkedIn. Yeah, just Google my name.
Liz
And
Henderson, data guarantee will find you, yes.
Oh, yes.
Liz, thank you so much for today, and thank you for sharing your expertise. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
It's been an absolute